Yeah,
I
been
was
drawing
yeah,
a
I
lot
think-
of been doing a lot of hand drawing, like on sketchbooks.
Yeah, I've seen. I told you, didn't I? Like, the difference is like I can't sketch on my iPad.
It is hard. Yeah, and well, I did that Baby Yoda. Sorry, that Grogu one on the iPad. That's a sketch
Yeah.
on the iPad, but that wasn't like a lot of detail. And
Yeah,
obviously, I
but
did the eye on my iPad as well.
You can't just like, oh, I'm just gonna do this, or just like, I could draw like a line on a pad and make something from it just by fucking around and manipulating a pencil and doing all different things.
Yeah.
Like if I'm on my iPad, I'm drawing something to
Yeah.
keep, to be, piece of that. Hello, and welcome to Code and Colour.
Wow, that was we are a chat show and we discuss all things digital art, animation, and video games.
That feels rough. I just feel like I'm like a new day.
Work
That
in
feels weird.
progress. That
Yeah. Episode 13. We changed it. We're gonna change it back for 14.
that unfamiliar voice that you heard on the second line is, but the one that you go, wow, that was so amazing. That was Tyler. That was me.
And then one where you thought, you know what? Someone reinvigorated those hellos. That was me, Josh.
No one thought that. No one. Everyone's gone. This. We were just saying about how this is going to be the unluckiest episode, and Josh, I think you've just fueled the fire, mate. To be honest.
Stoking it away. Go on. There you go.
How have you been, buddy?
Good, man. Good. Yeah, I've been doing a bit of drawing. I've got
Nice.
the Bluey thing, which you're very familiar with.
I am now. Yeah.
Been dabbling with and
New
just
to that.
improving. I actually, the perks of Procreate, I can't shout it enough. I basically drew what I thought was Bluey.
Right.
Turns out it was his dad. So, so I was like, oh, it's not Bluey. Like, how do I do it? And then I looked, and Bluey's like a different colour and smaller. Took the whole image, made him smaller, changed the things that were like little accents that were like blue. He's got his first bit bluer at the back and a bit of things on here. Got Bluey in about 10 minutes. I was like, yes. So yeah, I've been doing that.
The joy.
And,
The joys
yeah.
of cartoon characters.
yeah, I was like, sweet. They're all, there's not much thought going into them. They're just all the same shape.
That's it.
So and that I did that, and what else have I been doing? I watched American Reunion last night.
What on earth is that?
You know American Pie?
Oh, right. American Pie Reunion. Right.
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
The one that
Yeah.
came out like 10 years ago. Maybe longer.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like they're all older, and they all
Yeah.
sort of like come back for like.
I
it's
remember
so
seeing that
funny.
in the cinema.
So funny. Like it's just. I know we're like a Code and Colour podcast, but just need to take
animated.
some appreciation. Yeah, and just appreciate that film. I watched last night. I was howling. It's so good. What about you? What have you been up to?
Well, as usual, I'm not too shabby, but I have been. So I bought a sketchbook.
You did.
I decided to give. What would you call? I'm just going to call it analog. Analog drawing a go.
Traditional
Manual.
drawing. That's what it's called. Traditional drawing.
Manual paper drawing. So I've been giving that a go. I feel like I'm having to start again, which is annoying. I haven't really done any digital drawing, which is unheard of for me. But I've got some ideas, so thinking it. I'm thinking about it. There's ideas going, but I haven't got anything yet. That's about it, really. What have I been watching? Not an awful lot. It's just, I've just played a lot of games. To be fair, I've just been playing a hell of a lot of Fortnite, and that is all I've done lately. It's been a quieter week, so yeah, not a crazy deal, to be honest.
I've been playing a game which will in fact be my CNC recommendation.
Oh, don't tell us yet then.
I won't know.
Is it your turn?
Well, apparently it is. So
I can't remember what was the last. We've had 2 weeks off, Josh. What
Yeah,
a treat. What a treat.
I sat there when we were starting today. I was like, "Oh, that can be my CNC recommendation." So yes, I've been playing a bit of that, and not really. I've just been doing a bit of drawing, not much TV. Just
Yeah.
I know, and it's going to be the subject matter of today. someone has been wanting me to watch a little TV show that was
Just a little one, not
Just a
one
little
of those
one.
global, phenomenal animated TV shows that inspired future stories in this universe or galaxy in one of those galaxies far, far away.
some would say it was a good indie project. Yeah.
A good indie project is what someone says. So good, in fact, that it had 7 seasons, one spin-off, one sequel show, and then loads of live-action adaptations of some of the characters. But tiny, isn't it? Tiny.
They took a chance on the show. They took a chance on the department. What was it? The studio.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, they were like, oh, all right, we'll see where
Who's this guy, Dave Filoni?
God.
What's he doing? Yeah.
All right,
So-
we'll see if he's got what it takes.
Yeah.
So in case, you haven't been able to, decipher what it is we're referring to, we are in fact, of course, talking about Star Wars. We will be talking all things Star Wars today, and mostly catching up about the fact that I went to Star Wars Celebration last weekend. And
Did you?
I've been, yeah, I did.
Never mentioned it once.
Really would have thought I'd have mentioned it by now. Josh, you really need to remind me to let you know these things in future. I could have sworn I told you.
My phone didn't stop. I promise you, my phone just did not stop.
Well, we'll get into
names.
that in a minute. We'll get into
Yeah.
Star Wars in a minute. But Josh reckons he's got a little icebreaker for us this week. So why don't you dish out some of that in just a moment? So should we get into it?
Yeah. So today, the icebreaker I've thought of, and I have put a lot of thought into this.
Yeah, a lot of thought.
Yeah. The perks of editing. Wait, I've done this for weeks.
They are perks of editing until you always give them away. You do that as well a lot. I've noticed. It was like last week with some editing magic. You'll see a video of it now. Oh yeah. Anyway, go on.
Mad. So with some editing magic, you'll see them as they pop up, as I say. Oh, as Tyler says. So I want Tyler to give me the 10 best Star Wars characters from all the TV shows, all the animations, and all the films. And you can't pick any major ones. So for people who haven't
Do you know
seen
what? Do you know what's really weird? I was going to do that to you. I was thinking about it this morning. I was going to do that to you, but I thought, I don't know how many Josh will know. All right.
But like not like major like Obi-Wan Kenobi, like Yoda. Like they
Yeah, you want some of the, not
obscure
the majorly.
ones.
Like, sweet. So I'm not gonna do them in any order because you have literally put me on the spot. But 10 characters that I absolutely love from, I'm gonna say, the wider universe. Right, so I'm gonna go for some wider sort of universe characters. I know you said no mainstream ones anyway. So I'm assuming by mainstream you mean the ones that, like, the 9 films, I guess, the ones people would know the most.
Yeah.
But obviously there are characters within them that are lesser sort of a big deal. But, we'll go. I'm going to start with, credit where it's due. In fact, I'm going to save her till last, and you probably know who that is now. But I'll start with the absolute legend that is D. Bradley Baker's iconic character, Captain Rex. It's got to be. The man, the myth, the legend. Captain Rex, he is one of the clone troopers. For those that aren't familiar with Clone Wars, that's where he makes his first appearance. This is him, yeah. Actually, it's going to be this side, because by the time we record, it actually mirrors us, so it's going to be like that.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah, so it's this way. This is where it's completely wrong, and I'm like, well, we done goofed that one. So Captain Rex, he is one of the clone troopers, and he's just... I know they're obviously clones, and there's thousands upon thousands, millions of them, and they're all the same genetically, but they all have such different personalities. And I think Rex is just so iconic because he's also got a very paternal instinct about him, especially when it comes to like Ahsoka, or even Anakin. Like his main duty in life is to protect them. That's all, and that's all he cares about. You look like you have a question.
Do you prefer him over Cody?
Oh, 100%. The reason being, right, Cody is great. And he But he's still. Oh, another good reason why Rex is amazing. He doesn't get into the 66 business. He has his chip removed. Whereas Cody, he tries to kill my main man Obi-Wan, and I'm not about that.
That's
so, yeah, that's where Cody loses a few points. Rex has his chip removed. Don't get me wrong. For like a solid 10 minutes, he does try and kill Ahsoka. And if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert. Have you seen it?
I've seen it. I've not seen it in the episode, but I've seen it.
So like the Siege of Mandalore,
I've seen it.
The last 4 episodes of Clone Wars, which masterpiece. Just those 4 alone, like, are worth watching the entire of Clone Wars. I mean, don't get me wrong, Clone Wars has just moment after moment, but that is a fantastic piece of television. So Rex is definitely number 10 for me. Number 9, I'm going to go Hondo Ohnaka.
Interesting. I thought it'd be higher up.
Really? I'm not doing them in any order, to be fair. I'm just picking 10 that I love. But Hondo is a genius character. He's a pirate. He is his morals lie completely different to the likes of Rex. He only cares about one thing, and that is money, as all pirates do. He's very different in Clone Wars to the way he is in Rebels. In Clone Wars, he's a lot more serious, and like he's a bit of a slaver. And he has like his set of morals, and that he has a focus, and that's what he does. In Rebels, he partners up with Ezra, and he sort of becomes a bit of a comic relief character, and also a bit of a plot device, just to kind of give Ezra some filler episode, like something to do. It's kind of what he does.
He's got he's got that iconic voice as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. It's like very like, I don't know how he's like, Ezra Bridger. Like that's kind of what he sounds like.
He sounds like the you know, the bad guy in like the Goofy movies. You know what I mean, like the big like cat thing. He sounds like him. I would hazard a guess and say it's probably the same guy.
You know, it's quite interesting when you come to animation, right? That all these voice actors, just pop up everywhere. It's the same with video games, right?
Yeah.
Nolan North has like at one point dominated half of most video games. Like it's insane. But they do. A lot of voice actors also voice multiple characters. So you know, there's all that. So I'm going to say Hondo. He's just fun. Like, I enjoy him. You'll see him on the screen, either side. At this point, I can't remember which side he's going to pop up on. So just
we'll go here.
Could be here, could be here, could be here. You know, it could be in front of me or Josh.
Just for like future, like
preferably in front of Josh.
For future editing, Tyler. I know
you're
going to
put it in front of Josh's face.
Picking pictures, you're going to be like, oh, this is a really good screenshot, or really good. I can see you just enjoying this later on, so you're welcome.
Just do some little fancy graphics. Hondo's just going ooh around the screen. No, number 3. I'm gonna say. Oh, hang on. Do you know what? Actually, I'm gonna say Fennec Shand.
Yeah.
So she has popped up in. Most people will know her from Book of Boba Fett / that one episode of Mandalorian. She's also in one episode of Bad Batch, and she's going to be returning for the third and final season of Bad Batch, which is something I'm going to talk about. So Fennec Shand, played by Ming-Na Wen, who most people will know as
Mulan.
Yeah, I was like, completely escaped me. Mulan. She's the original voice actor for Mulan. She's also in something Marvel, isn't she? One of the only actors that's been in like all of them.
Yeah, she's in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right, so she's in that as well.
She's a badass in that as well.
She's been around a while, yeah. So she's a bit of an action star. So fantastic. I saw her at Star Wars Celebration. Again, we'll get into that. She's just a fantastic actress, and she plays one of the coolest characters in the world. However, admittedly, when she was in that one episode of Mandalorian, I did not rate her.
Did you not?
No.
To be fair, I watched her in Mandalorian, and I was like, oh, this character's really good. And then I was watching like Clone Wars, and then she sort of popped up in there, and I was like, oh. So because I thought she'd come as an original character to Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I didn't know she was brought from Clone Wars, so it's nice to sort of see that.
No, she was no. Her first ever appearance was Mando.
Doesn't she do the Siege of Cad Bane in the temple?
Nope.
Does she not?
Nope.
I'm sorry, I've seen
She, because Fennec Shand first appears in Mandalorian, and then she then comes into Bad Batch. So she's not in Clone Wars.
Oh, it might be. Yeah, that might be.
Yeah. So she actually is one of the few characters that debuted in the live action. You know, other than obviously our two main characters in Mandalorian. Well, actually, that's arguable. We could argue whether they are the main characters anymore. It's up for debate.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. Number 4. Number 4. I'm gonna throw it out to my man Chopper.
Who's Chopper?
Oh, see, he's this guy. He's the droid from Rebels. Like, he's the coolest droid. He gives R2 a run for his money. Like, fully gives him a run for his money. He's a droid. He doesn't talk. But one thing I love about Star Wars is they give their droids so much personality. Yeah. And for some reason, George Lucas decided that every droid in the galaxy is just the sassiest guy or gal. And that kind of just becomes a thing. And Chopper just makes a bit of a noise, and it's very iconic. It's just kind of like a wop, 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 wop. And that's the noise he makes. And he's really cool. And he wakes up every day and he chooses violence. And that is very much Chopper. He's just cool. He's a iconic character, and he's going to be in Ahsoka, so super buzzing to see him again. Number 5, I'm going to say Kanan Jarrus. So, voiced by Freddie Prinze Jr. He is a Jedi who, at the start of Rebels, is when he's first introduced, although he's also seen as a kid in the very first episode of Bad Batch.
Bad Batch, yeah.
Which actually caused a lot of controversy because in Rebels, Kanan talks about what happens to him in Order 66, and then they do it completely differently in Bad Batch. Yeah, they retconned everything. Yeah. They're just so annoying. Yeah. But Kanan is one of those characters that definitely goes through one of the best arcs in, like, character arcs in Rebels. He starts off as a Jedi that almost seems disgraced. But I don't even think he's disgraced. I think he's afraid, given the state of the galaxy at this point in the story. It's very much the rise of the Empire. It's their reign of terror is very early at this point. And he, to the point where his lightsaber, he's detached it at the hilt, and just doesn't use it. But he carries it, but he doesn't use it. And I think he tries to disconnect from the Force. And so he has to then try and reconnect with the Force. And that comes with him trying to train Ezra all throughout Rebels. And I think that gives him his focus and it shifts his focus. But one thing I really like about the sort of post-Clone Wars era of Star Wars is that this kind of it is forbidden to love thing. It's gone out the window, like, entirely. Like, because you've got, because Kanan is very much in love with Hera, which we don't find out for a very long time, but you can tell that is one of his main focuses. Is just, I think it kind of shifts the narrative of Star Wars. So love can lead to hate, but love can also be like a reason to fight. And I think that's what's kind of important. It kind of shifts the dynamic for Jedis a little bit, which is quite interesting. Go on.
Do you think he'll pop up in Ahsoka as like a flashback?
Well, maybe a flashback. Do you know what happens to Kanan?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, so spoiler warning: Kanan does die, and his death is one of the saddest moments I've ever seen, ever. And Kanan really goes through the ringer. He's made blind by Darth Maul, nonetheless, which is one of the coolest episodes. You've got Ahsoka, Kanan, Darth Maul, and Darth Vader all fighting. It's one of the coolest things you'll ever see. And I know it's animated, so a lot of people will give it a wide berth. But it is one of those moments. It's like, wow, what a cool thing to do. It's sick. And there's also some of the, what are they called? Inquisitors. Not the Inquisitors. What are they called? Are they Inquisitors? Yeah, because you've got the Grand Inquisitor, and then you've got the the Inquisitors.
Yeah.
Them. And they're there as well. It's just really cool. So, Kanan is... But then, I don't know. I really like this sort of thing with characters when they go blind. Like, some of the coolest characters are blind. Daredevil, Arya Stark for approximately 5-10 episodes. About 2 episodes. Arya Stark was the coolest character in Game of Thrones. And then Caitlyn. I just think it's a really cool thing to overcome. And you have to adapt to your senses and relearn how to fight. Oh, and what's his face from Rogue One?
Yeah, Donnie Yen.
Yeah, his character.
And one with the Force is one with me, or something like that.
I am one with the Force is with me. I am one with the Force. I just think there's something really cool about being blind and then also turning out to be one of the sickest characters in the world. I think it's just a really cool trait. Yeah, in a weird way, it always makes me want to be blind, and because it just think to myself, well, if I'm blind, I'll learn to adapt, and I'll just be this super. So yeah, shout out to the blind people out there. You what?
Like 4 rooms later.
You just hear me collapse to the floor, or smash my head off something because I don't know where I'm walking, and I'm actually just blind. So yeah, Kanan is one of the best. So he was number 5, right? Mm-hmm. So number 6, I'm gonna throw it out to the little geezer, and he's sat behind you. He's sat up there for me, and that is Grogu. Now, initially, this is controversial, but I would say initially for me, Grogu was annoying, and I thought he was put in there for he was put in there for marketing. Let's be real. Yeah. They knew they were going to market him, and he is. Like, when I was at Star Wars Celebration, he was everywhere. Like, everywhere. Everyone had a Grogu with them. It was insane. But I think he's an interesting character, and I think they've been a slow burner, and the only thing that really nowadays just really disappoints me about Grogu is the way he jumps, because it just kind of looks like someone's throwing him.
Yeah, I saw that when he did the Jack Black thing, and she's like, come to me, and he's flipping, like, throws him across the room.
It just kind of looks like Mando could have just gone yeet. So Grogu is going to be one of them. So number 7, I'm going to say Hera Syndulla. I'm surprised. To be honest, I'm actually going to count. Actually, no, I'm not. Number 7 is Hera Syndulla, and she is she's one of the Spectres from Rebels. She owns Chopper, and she's in a relationship with Kanan, and she pilots the Ghost, which is one of the coolest ships ever. Again, another thing Star Wars did amazingly. The ship designs are sick. But there we go.
She's the green Twi'lek, isn't she?
Yes, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead in Ahsoka.
Yeah.
So she is just, again, a bit like Rex, but has more of a maternal instinct. She's very protective of the rest of the team, like all of them. Given that she's not even the strongest one, I mean, she's up there. She definitely is up there. But she would die for those 2 Jedis in her team. She would die for Chopper. She would die for Sabine. She would die for Seb. She's just amazing, and she is so fearless, and I think she's such an iconic character. Like one of the things I will say, especially in more modern Star Wars, but even back to Princess Leia, Star Wars has always given a lot of love to their female characters.
Yeah.
And I think that is so fantastic, and I think Hera was definitely one of those characters that just makes. If I was a woman, I'd just be like, hell yeah, all the time, man. She's sick. Like, I would look up to her, and I'm not gonna lie, she was probably 50% of female cosplayers at Star Wars. The other half were my number 1, which we'll talk about in a minute. Number 2 is Cal Kestis. He's just so cool. Like, he is all alone when we first meet him. You can tell he's so afraid, but you can also tell that he was so young when this happened that he probably is still not still hasn't really processed what happened. And then we get to follow his journey, and I can't wait to follow his journey in Jedi Survivor. But with Jedi Fallen Order, you get to follow his journey into kind of discovering the Force for the first time. And overcoming some of the fear he has, and then he gets BD1, and their dynamic is just so interesting. So shout out to Jedi Fallen Order. It is one of the coolest games. It's hard. It's one of the hardest games I've ever played. It's very Bloodborne-y, sort of like Dark Souls kind of vibe. And then that brings me to number 1, which is Ahsoka Tano. I know you said to not go for the main ones, but she's a day 1 extended universe character, and you gotta give the gal some love. Ahsoka is, if not the most powerful Jedi, second to Obi-Wan, I would say. I reckon she even gives Anakin a run for her money.
What about Luke?
The problem is we don't see enough of Luke, right? But we'll talk about that in a minute. But I just want to give some love to Ahsoka. She is fearless. She's just the ultimate warrior, and she just, I don't know. She's also been through the ringer in especially in Star Wars. She was an outcast. She got like exiled from the Jedi Order, and then because of spoilers, because supposedly she'd done something, but it turns out she didn't actually do it. And then when the Jedi Order tried to apologize and invite her back, she was like, "Nah, I'm done. Like, you should have trusted me." And it goes. I guess it gives it shines a bit of darkness on the Jedi Order and how corrupt it kind of is. You know, they paint this picture that they are the protectors of the galaxy and they're so all-knowing. Yeah, but truth be told, when you think about the Jedi Order, they're taken from their families at a stupidly young age, and they have they are forced to have no connection with any person ever, and if they are, they basically go, well, you're a Sith, which is why they drove two of the most powerful Jedis they ever had away. One of them, they led them both astray. One of them stayed true to the light, which is Ahsoka, and obviously Anakin was very much swayed by the darkness. And you could argue that Palpatine was kind of pulling the strings, but you could also then argue that the Jedi kind of just never trusted him and never really gave him the opportunity.
Pushed him to the dark side.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes Ahsoka so good, is because even though she had a terrible experience, she stayed true to herself and to what her morals are, and you can tell that her morals don't lie with what the Jedi tell her. She just has those good intentions and those good morals, and she just will look out for anyone. And I think she's been treated unfairly and continues to be treated unfairly, but will do anything to save her friends. And I just think she's such an amazing character, and I'm so excited to get to see more of her journey as well. So that's my 10.
Nice.
So before we get wildly into it, the focus of today is Star Wars, and I kind of want to deep dive into we want to talk about the state of the Star Wars universe at the moment, because I could argue that some of it has been amazing, but other half of it has been led astray. And I think a lot of what we're seeing now is coming from the Clone Wars. I would argue not a lot of it is coming from the films, because they're kind of, Clone Wars sort of initiated giving it wider story, giving a lot more context. And I want to talk about, when I was at Celebration, one of the few panels I caught, because it was a nightmare seeing any of the panels, was the Clone Wars one. And it was such an honour to be there. You got Dave Filoni, and then we also had D. Bradley Baker, Ashley Eckstein. We had James Arnold Taylor and Matt Lanter, who voice pretty much all of the characters across the Clone Wars. Part Ashley, I think she does just voice Ahsoka. Fun fact that she said at the panel, Dave Filoni initially wanted her to have an Icelandic accent.
Interesting.
So she went away, did coaching on get voice coaching on that, because she didn't do it. Went to do the audition, and Dave went, "It sounds better with you just sounds just better with your normal voice." And so yeah, and it was such an interesting panel, like the stories they were telling, like how hard they fought to try and get this show off the ground. Like obviously George Lucas still had a lot of involvement, but this is actually the second attempt they had at Clone Wars, right? They had that, I don't know if you remember that really early animated show. It was a 2D one, and they were like, do you remember it? It was on Cartoon Network, and they were like 4-minute episodes.
The one with where you got Mace Windu when he crushes General Grievous' chest.
Yeah.
And
they're like 2D animations, and they weren't groundbreaking, and it didn't take off the way they wanted it to. So I think they had to then try again, and they were so lucky. Like this time around, like they completely did it. Dave Filoni got brought on board for this one. He talks about how he was hired from. He was like, I was working on this little show called The Last Airbender. Yeah. And everyone was like, yes! And it was amazing. And he was like, it's quite funny because he was personally recruited for Clone Wars and was like, what, me? Like, he thought that was ridiculous. He thought it was insane, which is insane to think about when you think he is the mastermind behind all modern Star Wars now, right? So that was such a great panel, and they talked about the fact that they're doing a season 2 of Tales of the Jedi, which... Have you watched that?
I watched the first one with Ahsoka, where the big beastie thing, but
That was a good episode.
There's just 10,000 things to watch, and not enough hours in a day.
You could watch that whole series, 6 episodes,
Yeah.
and you could watch it in like an hour and a half, because they're like 15 minutes long.
Yeah, I know. I'm a poor presenter. There's so many shows. Like, I've got to watch Clone Wars. I've got to watch Rebels. I've got to watch Tales of the Jedi. Bad Batch. I've got to watch. There's just so much Star Wars. It's a great time to be a Star Wars
We had
fan.
a pandemic. We had a pandemic, Josh.
Yes, but unfortunately, I had to work during that pandemic, and I didn't get all the free time I
Couldn't
wish
be
I
me.
had. Yeah.
All I did was watch everything during the pandemic. But that was one of the few panels that I got to catch at the at Celebration. It was a nightmare trying to get into the Celebration. We tried to go to the Obi-Wan recap and the Ahsoka panel on the Saturday and the Sunday, and they were both the first panels of those days, right? And we got there super early. The Obi-Wan, we were there 3 hours early, but you couldn't get in. Standby was full. It started at 1:30. We were there at 10:30, and the queue for standby was full. Nobody told me you had to reserve a spot on a panel. Nobody told me that. I'm clearly quite inexperienced in a Comic-Con. I've been to one Comic-Con in my life, and it was an MCM one. It wasn't even that good. But this one obviously was. But it wasn't all bad, because we went to the Celebration Live stage, where they do all the interviews, and we saw Gwendolyn Christie, Ming-Na Wen, Giancarlo Esposito, Andy Serkis, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. Kathleen Kennedy came out, the scourge of the Star Wars universe.
Boo.
Yeah, we didn't like her. You should have seen how it was like, woo, when she came out. And then the next person to come out was Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. And everyone was like, yeah! It went wild. Rosario Dawson, I can't remember her name, who's playing Sabine, but Natasha Lube, or I don't know, I don't want to butcher it. But Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who was voicing Hera in the live action Ahsoka show. Lars Mikkelsen, who's Thrawn voice in Rebels, is now returning to play him in live action, which is sick. What's the other one who's now in Ahsoka but was in Rebels and at Clone Wars? What was his name?
Ray Stevenson.
That's it, yeah, that one. He was there. He's so cool. It was so cool because he came on and I was like, who? And then he started speaking. I went, oh, I know exactly who he is now. Like, it's so funny with voice actors. They have such iconic voices, which I guess is why they get hired. Gwendolyn Christie, did I say that one already?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we saw her. We saw, Cameron Monaghan, who Cal Kestis.
Poncho.
Yeah, he gave his poncho to a fan, and who was someone cosplaying as his character, which was just lovely. I thought it was lovely.
Full circle.
Ian McDermott, Vivian Lyra Blair, is that her name? Little Leia.
Yeah.
Little Leia from Obi-Wan. And then, we got Ashley Eckstein as well, which I just love her. She's such a sweetheart. Honestly, she's so nice. And then you've got, we had Obi-Wan himself, Ewan McGregor, and this is where the fun begins, Mr. Anakin Skywalker himself, Hayden Christensen. And oh my God, I screamed. When they both come out, I screamed. It was just insane. So we got to see them and see them get interviewed, and I was like a stone throw away from them all. Like, so close. It was like I could smell them.
Did they even smell like the Force?
No, sadly not. Sadly not. But it was amazing. We got lots of announcements. We saw an Ahsoka trailer. We got more news on the Acolyte show. We found out we're getting Tales of the Jedi Season 2, Bad Batch Season 3, which is also going to be the final season of that one, sadly. And then a second season of Visions, which we knew about, but we had a trailer. And I think it looks fantastic. Have you seen the trailer for Visions?
Yeah.
Have you seen you know about Aardman doing it, right?
Yeah, the Wallace and Gromit lot doing it.
The
Yeah.
Wallace and
I watched, I was
Wallace and Gromit creators are doing their own
was like,
Star
nice.
Wars.
There you go.
It looks amazing. For those who don't know, Visions. So the first season was like an anthology season, very similar to sort of like Love, Death and Robots, but just solely Star Wars, and it was anime. In the second season, they're kind of broadening the perspective a little bit and not just going with anime. I don't even think any of them are anime, but they're doing lots of different animation style. I would say it's a lot closer to Love, Death and Robots than the first season.
Yeah, which so of them that's coming out that you've mentioned, like, what are your thoughts on Acolytes? Or the Acolyte? Is it the Acolyte or Acolytes?
Acolyte, I think it'll be interesting because it's going back to the High Republic, so sort of
We haven't had much of that.
pre-Phantom Menace. I think it'll be exciting to see what they do with it.
Is Knights of the Old Republic?
No,
High
so this is
Republic?
no. The High Republic is
Knights
like,
of the
Old Republic
yeah,
is like
there we go.
2,000 years before the events of the film,
Right.
whereas High Republic is like pretty much just ends just before Phantom Menace. I'd say
okay.
the beginning of the Phantom Menace is like the end of the High Republic era.
Right. Okay.
So we're going to see more of that, which will be interesting. I think it's nice to, give us more backstory and sort of shift the dynamic a little bit. I think the problem we have with Clone Wars and Rebels and Book of Boba Fett and stuff, they all revolve around the Skywalker saga, and at some point are going to be related to that. So it'll be nice to have a whole new set of characters that we don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a few films coming out which, some might be hits, some might be misses. I think in terms of like TV shows, there's a plethora, a good word there, plethora of things to enjoy.
I think it's plethora. Is it plethora or plethora? Either way, and we know what you mean.
I'm gonna go with plethora. To be fair, I'm gonna go
I
with
think
you.
it's plethora.
I think it's plethora.
Yeah.
Plethora. Yeah. Edit that out.
Plethora.
I'm gonna go with there's a few. I've been watching Bad Batch. I need to get on to season 2. I
haven't even finished season 2.
I don't think I have either. To be fair, the female clone that's
Omega.
Omega, yeah, does my head in. So
She gets better. I think she kind of has a bit of that. Again, I do think Omega was introduced as a bit of a marketing ploy. Because again, she was everywhere. She's the poster boy for Bad Batch, right?
Right. Okay.
Because you don't have any female clones, and they have now got a female clone, and it's like, whoa, that's interesting. Let's hone in on that
flesh
angle.
that out. Yeah.
Yeah. She's also the only clone that's actually got a Kiwi accent,
Yeah.
like Tamura.
Yeah. I think for me, there's a lot of TV shows and stuff. The only thing that I think that Star Wars Celebration is probably missing, not Celebration, is that Star Wars Upcoming is missing, is games.
Yeah, I agree.
There's just
I do
there's
agree.
just
I think
so much playground to play with. There's so many different things you could do, and I just don't think they are.
I agree. I think
not
they've
capitalizing on it.
It seems they put all their eggs in one basket with the Jedi series, right? With Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, which, don't get me wrong, Fallen Order is one of the coolest games ever, and Survivor will probably be one of the best games of the year. I think it will go toe-to-toe with Hogwarts this year. It looks fantastic, but I do agree, there needs more. It needs more, because some of the best games in the world are Star Wars games. Like the Knights of the Republic games are my favourite games ever. And we talked about the Battlefront when we were doing the PlayStation games. Like we talked about Battlefront 2, the original ones. You talked about Republic Commando, which we found out was never on PlayStation, by the way. It was an Xbox exclusive, that game. There's so many games that are iconic. It's to the point where they recreated the Lego Star Wars games because, again, they were so iconic. Star Wars is one of those universes. There's so many options. There's so much room that they can do things. And I agree. I think a new game would be something we need.
I think Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor have shown that there's that need for Star Wars games, and I've said it to you before, and this will be my go-to game of what should come out. Leading into good segue. I love a segue. things of where Star Wars should go. You know, we've got things that are coming out and things that we're excited about, but I think they should make a Mandalorian game in the same vein.
Yeah, we've spoke about this, haven't we?
Yeah, in the same vein as like Hogwarts Legacy. Like, you make your own Mandalorian. He's a brute, or he's a slender guy. He's a stealth guy. He's a tank. You could make Paz Vizsla. I didn't butcher that. You know, big huge one that's got
That
a
is
turret.
Paz Vizsla.
Yeah, or you could make the armorer. You know, be a melee Mandalorian. You could be, you know.
I want to ask you about her in a minute.
Yeah. You could be, you know, you can make Din Djarin, you know, a jack of all trades, or it's like a sniper version, and have a big bulky armor. And no one's sort of going, let's make that game, because that game you would print money. Like, I'd buy
would.
that all the time.
I mean, I think The Mandalorian as a TV show has proved that people want more from Star Wars than magic swords and magic tricks.
And you
Do
could,
you know what I mean?
You could have a single player game where you play through a story, you know, proper like in depth, like Naughty Dog type story, where it's, you know, twists and turns and all these things. And then when you've got your mates round, 4 Mandalorians going off into the galaxy, and, you know, having like an open like galaxy setting where you go do bounties and stuff.
Yes,
It'd be so good.
Yeah, that would be sick.
You know what I
Teaming
mean?
up, like you could have clans.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, like,
yes,
like,
that is sick. Actually,
you'd print money. Like,
that
Star Wars,
is money.
how many people would buy that? Everybody.
Pattern that.
Yeah.
That is yours. Get that intellectual property copyrighted, Josh. That is yours, bro.
It's so good.
No, you
Like,
are absolutely so spot on. Like, I think there's certainly, because Republic Commando was a cool game. Like, it
Yeah.
was and do you remember the Jango Fett game that came out
exactly.
on PS2?
Like, yeah, Jango
that
Fett.
was such a fun game. Like, I don't know, it was like different dynamic. You had to like bounce around and you kind of just use your guns, and it's like so cool, and like a little jetpack. Like, I think there are opportunities. I think the Mandalorians are, if not more than Jedi, diverse. Right? There's a lot more you can do with them.
And the problem is, I say it's a problem. This is the best time to do it for 2 reasons. One, Star Wars is at all-time high with the Mandalorian and Ahsoka, and it's just, you know, everybody wants to be a Mandalorian, everybody wants to be Ahsoka, you know, and it's prime time to get it out there. And the second reason is, Bethesda's working on the Mandalorian version of their world. They're making Starfield. If you take the main character out of Starfield, replaced it with a Mandalorian, go traverse all these different planets, make your own ship, do all that, it just writes itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, why is people not just going, I could make so much money from that, and they're just like leaving it there scared. I think I'm just going to have to come in and make it, you know.
reach out to Dave and the boys and be like, look, sit down, all right? I'm gonna tell you something, and you're gonna listen. And I think you're right. To be fair, like, Star Wars is missing one of those sort of gritty games that you like. Hogwarts was a gritty game, and it's. I think Hogwarts reignited a passion for Harry Potter for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, people loved exploring that world because there was so much to do, so much to see, and it was such a dark game that just, honestly, it was just amazing to feel like you had such control and such power as a wizard. I think it would be amazing to do the same as a Mandalorian.
Question. Digressing, obviously,
we go.
we're not Star Wars, but because you
I
brought
was going to say, this is
Hogwarts
definitely not Star Wars.
This is not a Star Wars, but do you think the success of Hogwarts Legacy greenlit the HBO TV show?
Yes.
I thought
Yes.
so too.
We will not talk of that HBO series. As far as I'm concerned, that does not exist.
I think, like I said, the games are the side of Star Wars that's lacking. I think the TV shows are propping up Star Wars as it stands, and there are a few questionable films coming out. But I think
Anyone
I
in
think
particular, Josh?
Do you know what?
She
I was
sucks,
thinking
man.
about
She
this.
sucks.
She right.
She
doesn't
sucks,
suck.
man. Ray sucks.
Right, I was gonna say this. I've been holding this in since you started, and you were like, oh, Ahsoka's my favorite character, top 10. She was amazing. I remember when you told me you didn't like Ahsoka when she first started, and it was only through really, really good writing that she got better and better and better, and she became one
To
of
be
your favorites.
fair, granted, she did, right?
Yeah. So get a good writer.
I don't know. Huh?
Get a good writer for Rey.
Yeah. Well, they proved that with like Anakin, right? They proved that with Hayden Christensen. Bringing him back for Kenobi was the best thing that ever happened to him, right? And it's very obvious he wasn't the weak link. And it's again like, I know this is a completely different thing, but Andrew Garfield for Spider-Man, like everyone
Yeah.
hated those films, but it wasn't him that was the problem. Bringing him back for No Way Home was what made those films
Yeah.
phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
That film phenomenal, and everyone was like, oh, okay, he is amazing as Spider-Man. But anyway, some would say he's a amazing Spider-Man.
You said something earlier on that we were on about. No, you was like, oh, the Fantastic Beast. You was like, oh, I really like the first Fantastic Beast. It was fantastic.
It's fantastic.
I was like,
Yeah, I know. I caught myself. I didn't mean to, but that was
better than that.
totally a coincidence. But anyway, we keep digressing. So I think, yeah, we definitely have some room for some games. It would be nice to show some love. Don't get me wrong, I am glad they show some love for the animated stuff. However, I think we're falling dangerously into a trap of let's adapt everything into live action.
Yeah, I do agree. I think that instead of it being a fresh and new idea, they're taking something that people we know are going to love. Like, I don't know who the characters, like Hera, who you really like, and like the Sabine, is it?
Well, it was like when Ahsoka first got introduced, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot of people knew, like, unless you were a die-hard Clone Wars fan, like, no one knew who she was.
And that's what's carried it, and I think that they need to branch out, and they need to get people like other directors and get other visions. They need to basically do like a live action Visions, and just get people in to make Star Wars. Don't worry about making a trilogy. Just make good singular Star Wars episodes. And I think,
or just market the animated stuff better. What I found really interesting is they waited to do all the animated like news at Celebration on the Monday, which was the least popular day. It hadn't sold out the Monday. They waited till then, and you can tell they just don't show a lot of love into it. And I think I'm going to be honest. I know we slander them a lot, but it's all Disney's fault. I think I think as a business, they are focusing entirely on live action these days, right? You know, we were discussing this the other day, and it's upsetting to see that two of the worst selling films last year were animated.
Yeah.
And it's because they don't put for those that aren't aware, it's Strange Worlds and Lightyear are two of the worst selling films from last year. Lightyear, of all characters, right? He is one of the most iconic characters of the 90s all the way through to now, right? And everyone would have thought that film would do amazing. It's an origin story about one of the coolest little space characters ever. And it flopped. It was an absolute flop, like Strange Worlds. And that's because they weren't marketed. They just didn't market those films. And it's the same with the animated stuff, right? Clone Wars wasn't marketed. Like, when that last season came out, it wasn't marketed. Bad Batch isn't marketed. Visions is rarely marketed, despite the fact they've got some of the biggest names in animation on it. Like, everyone knows what Wallace and Gromit is, but I guarantee no one will watch it.
Yeah.
Unless you're a fan.
And I think
Visions very much sort of like aims towards a niche audience, and that is fans.
Yeah. And I think that I think if they go down a route of marketing things better, they'll get more out of it. I do agree that like Lightyear, was one of my favorite animated films I've seen in a long time.
It was so good,
so good, so well done. And Buzz Lightyear, Toy Story. Would Disney still be here if Toy Story didn't absolutely reign supreme for years and have 10 sequels?
Pixar wouldn't. Pixar would have got, like, when done and dusted, had Toy Story not done as well as it did.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. And could Disney have plowed the money that they're plowing to The Mandalorian now because of Toy Story? Maybe.
No.
Maybe not.
But then you could argue that would Mandalorian be relevant now if Clone Wars wasn't what it is, right?
Exactly.
I think, people hated the sequel trilogy for Star Wars, right? They weren't popular, so it was down to the extended TV universe to fix that. But there was already fans of Clone Wars, there was already fans of Rebels, and people love those shows. Like, we wouldn't have Ahsoka or Mandalorian or anything like that without those original shows. And I think it's unfair to not. Like, I know we talk about this a lot, but like, it all deserves a lot more love and energy, the same as the live action stuff does. Like, that just frustrates me.
Speaking of things that do deserve a lot of love, and I know I've mentioned this to you many times, and your eyes are going to roll to the back of your head, but The Force Unleashed deserves all the love I need a Force Unleashed
I'm
3.
afraid Witwer's never coming back.
I need a live action Starkiller just being the big bad, or not even a big bad. Just make a movie. Just be like, you know what?
I feel like he more than made up for it that by playing Maul though.
I know, but you just don't see enough Jedi just go like the best part. I said best part. There's a lot of good parts of Obi-Wan, but when he picks up the rocks and starts launching them at Darth Vader, I was like, here we go. I'll pull my seat up. We're here. Someone's going apeshit.
Yeah, okay. I mean, yes. So I think the takeaway from this, Star Wars is doing phenomenal and it is on top of its A game, but
it could be better.
It could be better and it could be more diverse for the animated stuff. I'd like to see another animated show. You know, I know they've and not ones that are just little sort of legend stories, or one that's a new kids show that actually does look like it's marketed towards children rather than sort of more older themed audiences. You know, they've got that Young Jedi series coming out.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm thinking about this as well. I think that, like, I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark recently. Showed my wife it. I've seen it many
A lot
times.
of what, sorry?
I showed my wife Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right, okay, Indy.
Yeah, we love Indiana Jones. Great, staple of action movies. And I was like, oh, well, what would be a really good Star Wars film would be, like a smuggling film, like, or a smuggling game, or something that doesn't... I think we talked about this.
Well, we had Han Solo.
We did, yeah. And it was decent. It was good. It was a good premise. It was just a writer's nightmare. But
yeah, for
me, like... And I said this to you because I was like a big Force Unleashed fan, and I really want to see the Jedi just mashing stuff up and pulling Star Destroyers out of the sky. But the more I'm watching about Star Wars and the Jedi being used so sparingly, it makes me want other shows that do that. Like when, and I don't know, Ahmed Best popped up to save Grogu, and they did the flashback to Order 66. Yeah. When he did the flashback to Order 66 and he popped up and he's got 2 lightsabers in his hand and he's fending off the clones.
Yeah.
I was like, I want a whole film of that. But in my head, I was like, because this is like such a sporadic thing, it feels earned more than just like, let's have lightsabers, let's have, just this stuff. Like when Luke popped up at the end of Mandalorian Season 2.
It was iconic, right?
It was so good. Like it was earned, and it just wasn't swords.
Yeah, and that's similar to the Rebels, right?
Yeah.
I was talking about earlier. The 2 episodes, the Twilight Apprentice, I think they're called. And it's, like I said, it was like a big moment, like a monumental moment. You got Darth Maul, Darth Vader, Ahsoka, and Kanan. They're all fighting it out. And it's such a, whoa, like as a Star Wars fan, this is like, whoa, this is amazing. Like, I want more of that. I want more of those.
Yeah, there was a fan film that came out, and I think it's been confirmed that it was a fan film, but there's like a 30-minute teaser of the Knights of Ren, and he basically takes down a TIE fighter with a lightsaber. Similar to what Rey does, but I think he's like riding on the back of it, and someone's like made it in like CG. And do you know what? I watched it, and he kind of like stands up, and he's got his red lightsaber, and he puts it away, and it was like Star Wars, Knights of Ren, and I was like... I know nothing about the Knights of Ren, but do you know what? Kathleen Kennedy, show me more.
No, right. I think, right, actually is a good, like, sort of to round this up. Get rid of Kathleen Kennedy because she sucks.
She does.
And her whole dynamic just sucks. Just give her job to Filoni. We all know he can do it. That's all we need. That's all we need is Filoni. Kathleen Kennedy can get in the bin.
And it's not even because, like, because she does this big thing about the Force is female, that's a whole subject in itself. It's Filoni just does a better job. He understands what Star Wars is, and so does Favreau.
He's a fan.
Yeah, he's a fan.
He's a fan.
And
she's not.
We've said this many times on podcasts, and I've said it myself. If you're a fan of something, you will make the best thing going. If you get a room full of people who are a fan of this project, a la Hogwarts Legacy, you'll make something special, and he's made something special all the time because he's a fan and he employs fan. Sam Witwer, biggest Star Wars fan on the planet, corrected Dave Filoni in a screen test of something, saying, actually, no, I don't think he'd do this. And Dave Filoni was like, you're right.
Yeah, you're right.
And you've got people who are in the cast who are fans of Star Wars, who want to cosplay Star Wars, and they just make better things because they're fans of it.
Yeah.
She is not. She is a person who's grown up through the ranks, and she's like, I want to see dollar bills, and that is what's killing Star Wars. You need a fan at the helm.
Yeah, you are correct, and I don't actually have anything else to add to that. So, Josh, you get to have the last word today.
I do indeed.
But you don't get to have the last word just yet, because you need to have another last word, and that's to tell us what the
I was going to segue into
your CNC recommendation is.
Yeah, so a little game that I've been playing this week, and I couldn't spell on the intro, is something called Midnight Fight Express.
Midnight Fight Express.
Yes. And
tell me more.
What do I say about this? It's, I want to say top down, but it's not. It's like top down, where you can you're sort of looking over the character as he's going through buildings, but you're at an angle where it's almost a third person sort of character thing. So it's got a weird camera on it, so you're sort of like following him from behind, but like high up. And if you like your John Wicks, if you like your games where you're just beast, as it were, and you're just running through situations and places, picking up like crowbars and just beating seven shades out of people, and like it's just a proper like action movie game, and it's just constantly running through scenes and having little scraps in the scene, and it's just really sort of cartoony and fun, and just to pick up and be like, oh, I'm gonna be fighting on the back of a train now, and it's like Uncharted on roids, but it's like a really cartoony art style, but it's really good, and it's just weird. It's got like thumping bass music behind it, so it's like rock and roll, and you're like just pummeling people, and it's great. I think it's just
love it
to pick up and play.
Love it. Thank you. And I'm going to give us another drawing challenge. Should we do another drawing challenge, Josh?
Yes, I would like to do one.
Cool. I've got one. So in the vein of Star Wars, I think we'll keep it in that environment. I think we've dabbled in this kind of experience before, but I'd like you to draw a Star Wars character.
Yeah.
You can pick anyone you like.
Yeah.
But it has to be in black and white. And the canvas has to be black. Right. So you need to be using whites and shades of grey.
I don't like you. So I'm trying to work that out in my head.
Obviously, I haven't got an idea who I'm going to draw yet, but draw it. I think give ourselves a little bit more creative freedom. We know that the creative sort of like obstacle there is the black and white, and it being predominantly drawn in white but on a black canvas. I know that's not something you do often, so I think this is going to be a good test for us.
Any character, so you just draw a character that's known in Star Wars and just give it a black and white background.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's just do any character you like.
I'm going to veto any character that's either predominantly black or predominantly white.
Just do whatever you like, lad.
You can't just roll in there and do Darth Vader and be like, well, I did it with white ink.
Can't outline it and just no, be creative. I think it's a good opportunity to use shading. It's not something that we both do a lot, so I think it's gonna be cool.
I'm already worried about this.
I don't know what I'm gonna do, but let's do it.
Shall we say a week, 2 weeks?
A week.
A week.
If Baby H comes, then 2.
Yeah.
So maybe pray for Baby H.
More time.
I mean, we are anyway.
We're
but
praying, yeah.
So 2 weeks starting now.
Okay.